Welcome back to another episode of the Bourbon Lens. This is Jake, and we're excited because we're going to dip our toe in a little bit of new things in 2023. And first, to kick off this month of February, we are being joined by Morgan Hancock, founder and director of Bourbon with heART. If you haven't seen this, it's going to be an awesome display happening during the month of February, going for 8 weeks at the Fraser History Museum. Go check it out. We're going to talk about all that during this podcast, but we're super excited to have you here joining the Bourbon Lens. So thanks for spending some time with us prior to the launch of the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
You know, one of the things that we compare whiskey to often here is art, right? A lot of people, when they talk about the distilling process and then the blending process and all of that, like that's artistry. And so bringing art to bourbon, I don't think is really unheard of because there's a bunch of creative engineer folks creating it. Why not dress up the bourbon barrels on the back end of this? So tell us a little bit about your interest in bourbon and how you came up with this idea.
So my fiance and I, we have a fire protection company, and we do the fire protection for almost all of the major distilleries. Fire protection is an important part of making bourbon. It's an important thing for distilleries to have. So because of that, I am very connected with the main players of most of the distilleries. So I was already pretty well connected through that. And then on top of that, we love bourbon. We like to partake. We enjoy it. And exactly what you were saying, bourbon is an art in itself. We say that if you look at our website, in our description, we'll say whether it's music, dance, painting, or crafting, the perfect bourbon, we appreciate art in all its forms.
Yeah, and I think it's super important to realize, like Louisville, like the city, bourbonism, right, is so much more than just the distilleries and the whiskey itself. It is the culture, it is the food, it is the artwork. Fraser Museum is the start of the Bourbon Trail, the official start of it, right? So a lot of this will culminate in the place where your all's barrels will be on display. So as you kind of have this history and you've got this artistry and this kind of niche inside of itch inside of your body to get going, like how did you come up with this, barrels thought process?
For our Bourbon Barrel Art Exhibit that we're doing, that actually came about because I was walking down the street of downtown Louisville, and there was just a trash can on the side of the street, and it just was dirty and ugly looking. And I just thought, why couldn't we make that some type of art piece? We got to have trash cans. We might as well make them look better. And we have the Gallapalooza horses all throughout the city, which are the big painted fiberglass horses. And obviously horse racing is a staple industry of Kentucky, but very much so is bourbon. And so I just thought, well, that could be a bourbon barrel, a painted bourbon barrel. And I immediately thought, I'm sure somebody's thought of that or somebody's doing it. But I went ahead and Googled it anyway, just to be safe. And I realized that there had never been any Bourbon Barrel Art Exhibit in Louisville, Kentucky. So I just knew that I had to get this going. So got the wheels in motion, approached Fraser because it made the most sense. It's the start of the Bourbon Trail. So if we were going to host some type of exhibit like this, that would be a great place to do it. And they were just immediately on board, no hesitation. They loved the idea. And so like I said, with the trash cans, I do have a vision of this lining the streets of Louisville, maybe not necessarily as a trash can, because I realize there's some logistical obstacles there with that, but lining the streets, Whiskey Row should certainly have these painted bourbon barrels all up and down them, but not just Louisville, it should be all in Bardstown and other cities. So that's how that came about.
No, and I think that's so creative because the horses are a logistical nightmare to get them to stand out. And they are, unfortunately, some have been decimated across, our time in the city, but these are something that is iconic. And you talk about Whiskey Row and everything that's popping up on Whiskey Row, whether it's, one of your sponsors I see is Buzzards Roost, their tasting, room is going to be opening in 2023, Bardstown Bourbon Company, Pursuit Spirits. And then you have the flagships like Old Forester and Evan Williams and Peerless. You have all these, whiskey, experiences, Angels Envy, Rabbit Hole. We can go on, and they just more and more keep popping up. And I think would be really cool, seeing those thematic things marking out, your opportunity to stop along the urban bourbon trail, which is going to, be a part of that, right? It's making those stops at those locations along the way. So I love that idea, because it becomes iconic. People go and take pictures with the horses all the time. And I think it's a really unique idea to continue to bring artistry to Louisville in such that way. And so as you all go and get ready for the launch of this, because this will, coincide in the first week of this launching. So will the exhibit. You have a variety of different people that have really kind of crafted these artistry. So can you talk a little bit about how the artists came to be across these 20 barrels that are going to be displayed?
Yeah, so when I first got the idea, and after I had approached Fraser, and Fraser was on board with being the venue for this exhibit, then I realized I've got to find artists. So sent out a press release, just a press release for an artist call that I was going to need 20 artists to paint 20 barrels. They had to be from Kentucky. That was really the only requirement. So I just put a form on my website, put out the press release, and within 2 weeks, I had over 150 submissions of artists from across Kentucky that were all extremely talented. It was only open for 2 weeks, or else I would have had quadruple that. I mean, they just were flooding in. So then we had the process of picking which 20, which I was kind of worried at first, am I going to be able to find 20 artists? But then the problem was, how do I narrow this down to 20 artists? So one thing that was important to us, well, obviously that they're talented, but two, that we wanted people from all different walks of life. We want everyone to kind of see maybe a piece of themselves in this exhibit somehow. So we have artists from ages 18 to 65. We have award-winning artists such as Keith Anderson, who painted the 2018 and 2019 Woodford Derby bottle, to someone who's a full-time nurse, and this is a hobby of theirs, to artists with multiple different disabilities. So we're really representing all different communities of the state.
No, I love that. And looking at some of the artistry that, whether they've, put together these barrels already, or, some of their artwork that they have, I mean, it's immaculately detailed in some of these things. And I really, Latora Schmidt's like Muhammad Ali photo that she's got kind of pictured in her bio is great. And then you have like the iconic, in Gail's photo, you have the Blanton's bottle, and you see some of those iconic things on the barrel. So I'm really interested to see what, these kind of come play out to be. Clay Mata's got a really beautiful derby looking, barrel. So I'm excited to see this, because I've only seen really barrel art done one other time, and that was at the release for Green River. They had a few artists, and they were, you bought the barrel pick. So in a barrel pick, right, you get to get the whiskey, but then you got to keep the barrel. But that had to age for 5 years in a warehouse. It's going to get a little rough along the way. So this is really unique that this is going to be a finished product. And not only are these finished products going to be something that, you can go and experience for 8 weeks, but there's something at the end of this that, people can get involved with too. Is that correct? With a raffle?
Yeah, well, I have to go back to, you mentioned Clay Mata. Well, I feel I could talk about all of these artists. I feel like I have adopted 20 new kids, like the way that I'm so proud of them, and like they send me, progress pics, and I'm just like, oh, like good job, and I want to tell everyone about them. I'm like at dinner showing pictures of the artists like they're my children. So but Clay Mata that you mentioned, so her barrel actually glows in the dark. So when it's dark, it's like a whole different design. So it's a glow in the dark, and then the lights come on, and it's different designs. So I would have never thought of that. The things that these artists are coming up with are above and beyond what I had even envisioned this to be. And so we're wrapping up. They have to all be completed with their barrels in 2 days. So I'll be able to see all the final. We have one artist who's doing the pyrography, so it's burning.
Oh, wow.
The whole design around the whole barrel, which would take a very long time, but she's managing to get it done on time. So yeah, it's going to be an amazing exhibit. But to your question, at the end, we are selling raffle tickets for one of the barrels. All the other ones are already spoken for by sponsors. So the sponsors will own their barrel at the end of the exhibit. So we are selling one barrel is being raffled off. All the others have been spoken for by sponsors. And all of the proceeds, it's important to make sure and note, all the proceeds are going to local nonprofits.
Mm. Yeah, and I think that's what's really interesting. So you have an amazing sponsor list, and not only are we sitting here a month out from this, you only have one sponsorship opportunity really kind of open as you were closing up shop as we talked tonight. But just names like Barrel Craft Spirits or Buzzard's Roost or Old Louisville Whiskey Co. And then big name places like Mercedes-Benz Louisville. You have some really good people that are a part of the community that are engaging that. Was it hard to get people on board with something like that? Because with something new and innovative, sometimes you can get a little pushback. Did you find any pushback, or was everyone, kind of amenable, like the Fraser Museum?
Everyone was excited about it. And one sponsor I want to note, particularly for this podcast, that we got is the Heaven Store whiskey, which is Bob Dylan's. So that was kind of an interesting one. I reached out to them because Bob Dylan, I knew, really valued the arts. And so that was a true cold call, if you will, that ended up working out. And that's really what all of these were. And I've not had much pushback at all. I wish I could have done more than 20. And for sure, when we do this next year, it's going to be a lot more than 20 because, as you said, we're almost a month out from it. And I've got an inbox full of people that I'm going to have to turn away that want to sponsor. So next year, we can make this 4 times the size. And one thing I would love to do with it, I always want Fraser to be part of it because Fraser's the official starting point of the Bourbon Trail. But I also have a vision of these barrels being in the airport, lining the walkways. And that's, greeting people coming to Louisville with these awesome hand-painted bourbon barrels.
Well, and I think that's what's super interesting is that these are transportable, right? It's not like you have to have like the horses, once they're there, they're kind of locked in, but having the ability to say, hey, these could move around a little bit to, do different things like during Derby or, that's the craziest time of the year. Or, if you have big football games, Louisville will probably become relevant with Jeff Brom at the helm, not to get too much into sports, even though I'm a Kentucky fan. There's just a lot of cool things that are going to be happening. There's a lot of cool opportunities for these barrels. And I think what's also pretty interesting is not just that you're doing this by yourself, but you have a very diverse board as well. So talk to me about how your board members kind of came to be about to make sure that this could run and be an effective, 501(c)(3).
Yes, as you said, every nonprofit has to have a board, and I'm glad they do because I have a great one. So Andrew Kung has not only been a very long time friend, but is one of the best production videographer, photography companies in the region. So to have those resources and that talent at my disposal has been invaluable. If you'll be able to see, if you go on our website and you go to the Meet the Artist tabs, you'll be able to see every artist video. And these are awesome high quality videos and photography. And then Kathy Tierbach is the editor in chief of Tops Magazine. So that's obviously been great. We have a 24-page feature in the February issue of Tops Magazine coming out. Every single barrel will have a full page with the artist and the sponsors. And then Becca is the director of distillery operations at the fire protection company. So she's got all the fire protection contacts. And then we have John Tierbach, who we call Johnny Rocket, because he just retired as a true rocket scientist of Raytheon. So he can be the brains behind everything, the logistical brains. But yeah, we have a great team.
No, I think that's, amazing to not only have a great team, but get along with your team, right? And then have the right, opportunities. I'm very familiar with all the things that are happening with your board. So I think it's really exciting that you have good vision casting. I think that's the most important thing when you talk about charities and artistry and things like that is having that vision casting to make it relevant to the end consumer of said charity, right? You want to make sure people are engaged and they understand the cause. And I think the cause is really big because, again, you're supporting nonprofits. So talk to a little bit about how you came up with where the funds would go and how you would support those nonprofits with this, artistry.
So for this one, I wanted to focus on, because this was our first event. I wasn't sure how this was going to go. I wasn't sure how much we were going to be able to raise. So I wanted to pick smaller nonprofits who kind of, regardless of what we raise, it's going to make an impact for them. So we just have 3 that are just close to me personally that I was connected with that I know are doing great things. One is Blanket Louisville. It's blankets for the homeless. The other is called I Would Rather Be Reading. It's a literacy program. And then Dream Center Academy, they're building a Christian school in the West End. It will be private school. The tuition will be free to the students in West Louisville. And then during the exhibit, the public will vote on their favorite barrel, and that'll be online voting. And whatever barrel artist design wins, that artist will also get to donate a certain amount to the nonprofit of their choice.
That's extremely exciting, and I think creating that call to action and that opportunity to continue to share in this day and age is super hard, right? It can be difficult because we live in a very me first culture, and I think it's cool to see the opportunity to give back and support something as awesome as this. So we've talked a lot about the event, but we haven't talked about the dates and times and all of those things. So talk to me. I know it starts in February and it's going to run for 8 weeks. So what's the parameters and what times are the exhibits open and how much are tickets to get in?
So that we have an unveiling night that will be February 1st, and that will be a party at Fraser that will be for the artists, the sponsors, the nonprofits, the media. So that launches February 1st. And then the exhibit will run from February 1st to April 1st. And I believe it's $15 to go to the museum. This will be all on the 3rd floor of the museum, which is the Spirit of Kentucky. Floor. And if you've not seen it, it's just all bourbon themed on the 3rd floor of Fraser. So these will be all along that. And the public, like I said, will vote during that 8 weeks. So it'll just be online voting. It'll all be on our website, bourbonwithheart.org. We're easy to find on social media, Bourbon with Heart.
Yeah. So that's super exciting. So you have this, but you kind of teased something to me about what the next thing is. So, this is awesome. A great first event. Excited to go and see something like this for myself. Perfect date night opportunity, right? Go down, get your favorite local eatery, stop by the Fraser Museum maybe beforehand, and then Bob's your uncle, right? But I always like to look for the future, right? Because this isn't a one-trick pony type of thing. So what's that next opportunity for people to engage with Bourbon with Heart?
Well, we have a lot of things coming up, and we don't plan to we plan to take this even beyond Kentucky. We have several things in the work, Bourbon and Broadway, Bourbon and Ballet, Bourbon and Beethoven, a lot of things, art theme. But the most immediate thing that we have coming up is Bourbon Barrel bow ties that will be in time for Derby. So I have partnered up with a local group of woodworkers. They're all veterans. It's Crew's Custom Flags.
Love them. Love them. Great people.
Yeah, so I've partnered up with them, and they have, if you've ever seen wooden bow ties before, so I've had them. I'm actually going to pick them up next week. 50 wooden bow ties made out of bourbon barrels, and it's going to be similar to this Bourbon Barrel Art Exhibit. I'm going to have an artist call. I'm going to have artists. They can either paint them, they can carve them, they can burn them, however they want with these bourbon barrel bow ties. And we're going to have 50 of them. They'll be sponsored by local companies. They'll be available for purchase. You could actually wear them to Derby. And we're going to display that. We haven't announced the venue yet. We're looking at a couple different options, but it'll definitely be somewhere that's iconic, Kentucky.
Now that's exciting because, I saw a few flashes, I think in Tops, of the bourbon wood bow ties last year. And so people from all over the world try to come in and take a piece of flavor of Kentucky away with them. Someone's always looking for, a bottle of something, but fashion pieces are something that are continuing to be, Derby chic is a big thing. You find what you can here because it's hard to get some of those things. Not many places are rocking seersucker suits in time for the Derby, but you can find one in Kentucky around this time of year pretty easily. So I think that's an amazing opportunity to support style. And so I'm super interested because I like the arts. I like theater. That's kind of like my guilty pleasure that not a lot of people know about me. So have you all thought about like Louisville Center for the Arts and partnering with them to do some cool stuff? Because nowadays it's all children's themed things that I go to because, that's my son. We went to Paw Patrol Live, I think was the last thing we saw. But, I've seen Phantom of the Opera. My wife and I saw Hamilton last summer and it was phenomenal. So love the performing arts and love what the center does. So have you thought about, tying in with them or Actors Theater?
Yeah, definitely. So that is along with our Bourbon and Broadway plans that we have. We certainly want to work with all of them. We want to work with all these people, and we're going as fast as we can to get all these things done. In fact, just today, we have Louisville Comedy Club coming on as a sponsor. They have Louisville Comedy Club and the Barrel Bar. They own both. And so one of my things that deep down, my ultimate dream in life would be to be a stand-up comedian. You haven't really got to see that side here tonight, but but I have this idea of doing a comedy-based fundraiser, Barrels of Laugh, and that would be stand-up comedians, kind of similar to this artist call, but bringing in stand-up comedians because comedy is an art.
Oh yeah.
And that's something that I can see taking beyond Kentucky, and I would love to get the attention of a really famous comedian, maybe with that fundraiser. But so we've got everything you can think of in the works, and certainly with the performing arts.
Yeah. So dream big, right? Like that's the thing. And until someone tells you no, just keep grasping for the stars, because that's how more people are going to get engaged. Bourbon and food, bourbon and Broadway laughs, so now you said your dream would to be a stand-up comedian. Do you have a joke that you would tell? Like, what's your like go-to joke? I mean, come on, you said it. You got to have something. You got to have some material.
My joke is too long for what we got left on here. That would be a whole nother episode. But yes, I certainly have several jokes. Not everybody would find them funny, but yes, I told a joke in our first board meeting, and my problem is my jokes are too long. That's why I need like a whole 30-minute
skit
stage. Yeah, I can't just do the one-liner here for you. But yes, but stay tuned. So even if I get booed off stage, we're going to have a whole host of, local comedians for this act. And I've already talked with Comedy Caravan and Louisville Comedy Club, and everybody loves the idea. So stay tuned for Barrels of Laughs.
I like it. So this is super exciting. I can't wait for the unveiling and the opportunity to go through. Fraser, myself, it's something I don't do enough as a Louisvillian to get down there and see all the cool things that come through is amazing. What they've put together in that building is nothing short of astonishing. And I think more Louisvillians need to go and check it out because it's a really cool property and a really cool museum that I think is underutilized in my point of view.
Sorry, and one of our sponsors, actually, the Weber Group, is who designed that entire third floor
Oh,
of
nice.
Fraser. They do excellent work.
No, so that's super exciting. And so, as we kind of close here tonight, so I would be remiss if we didn't say one last time when the show is running, as well as where people again can find you on social media or on your web presence.
So this is Louisville's first Bourbon Barrel Art Exhibit. Launched February 1st, Fraser, Kentucky History Museum. It will run February 1st to April 1st. And you can find anything you want to know about us at bourbonwithheart.org, and follow us on Facebook, social media, just Bourbon with Heart. And if you missed the opportunity to be involved as a sponsor or artist in the Bourbon Barrel Art Exhibit, we have a lot of other opportunities coming up very soon. So be sure and reach out to us, and we would love to work with you.
Yeah, super easy email. So if you need to get a hold of Morgan, bourbonwithheart@gmail.com. Super easy. If you're one of those people that miss out, that bow tie opportunity is going to be awesome. If you haven't seen Cruise Custom Flags, I mean, those guys are amazing. So Morgan, we truly appreciate the opportunity to just highlight this. It's super unique. It's super different. And we're super excited because this is near and dear to my heart as talking about just instrumental things that people can be involved with. And Louisville is artwork. It's what it is. It's a culmination of people and industry. So we truly appreciate the opportunity tonight for you to join us.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Bourbon Lens. And we truly appreciate the opportunity to speak with Morgan Hancock of Bourbon with Heart. Again, you can go and visit the exhibit February 1st through April 1st. The arts are super important, and we're super excited to be able to share that message. As always, we really appreciate you listening to this episode of the Bourbon Lens. If you want to know more about us, you can follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Bourbon Lens. You can also drop us a line at info@bourbonlens.com if you just want to get connected with Scott and myself. Last but not least, we're so thankful for our Patreon community. It continues to grow, and we want to continue to give people the opportunity of joining us. We have some really cool opportunities coming up, so don't miss out. Again, you can join us at patreon.com/bourbonlens. And until next time, cheers.